Here we have some beautiful shiitake mushrooms, nice and fresh and firm, and we give them a nice rough chop. So I've diced it. All we're doing is we just take the shiitake mushroom and take our knife and we're just running it to create strips just like that. Mushroom, and we just do the next one the same way. To the shiitake mushrooms, we're going to add some chili oil. There's a little heat there, so add to your own taste. Some olive oil. Mushrooms are like a sponge, so they take quite a bit of oil. Some salt. And some black pepper. And then we're going to give this a nice mix, just with our hands. Just creating a little basic quick marinade. When we cook this in the pan, we'll be using some butter and maybe a little bit more oil as well. We'll just judge it by how it's looking in the pan. And there we have just a very simple marinade. And now we're going to take some cloves of garlic here, and I'm just going to give them nice little thin slices, like so. And this is going to be added to the mushrooms after the mushrooms are cooked. Now I'm melting some butter in a wok. You can use any pan you want. Carbon steel skillet or cast iron would be really, really wonderful too. But here I've got a carbon steel wok. I'm going to get this wok scorching hot and then add in the mushrooms. The pan's nice and hot. We're tossing in our shiitake mushrooms with a light marinade. And the key is we want to caramelize these, so we're going to keep this under extremely high heat. You cannot overcook mushrooms, but in order to get really good caramelization and browning, you actually need to make sure that the pan is super hot and that it cooks for quite a while, cooking out the excess water that's in the mushrooms. That's really the secret. So I'm just going to spread this out, and I'm going to leave it in place over high heat while it caramelizes for a few minutes. They've been sauteing for about a minute and a half under very high heat. Fight the temptation to stir them too much. We want to really get a nice crispy caramelization, just develop a complexity of flavor. Just checking into our shiitake mushrooms, you can see we've got some really beautiful caramelization on some of it, maybe about a third of it right now. So this is probably a third of the way there. And I'm just stirring every couple of minutes, just rotating the, lifting and flipping the shiitake mushrooms. And now they've been cooking for maybe about 3-4 minutes, and this is looking great. They've really wilted down. You can see that most of the water is evaporated, and we've got just some really, really nice caramelization going on. And this is going to be served over steak, so you could add some heavy cream at this point to turn just a creamy mushroom sauce. I actually don't have any heavy cream, so I won't be using that. I'm going to see if I can figure something out though. And we're just going to do a little bit more touch of seasoning, just maybe a little Himalayan pink salt, maybe a touch of black pepper, and it's pretty much there. So now I've just slided the mushrooms off to the side, and I've tossed in my slivers of fresh garlic cloves. And I'm just going to let these garlic cloves just lightly caramelize. We don't want to burn the garlic. And the garlic burns at a much lower temperature than mushrooms, which is why I wanted to make sure my mushrooms were really, really fully caramelized before I added in the garlic. I'm going to go ahead and turn up the temperature and get these guys cooking. So here we have it. We've just sauteed and caramelized the garlic. Just going to give these guys a quick toss here. And that is smelling ridiculously good. I could just eat that straight like that. It's toasted garlic and the shiitake mushrooms, beautifully caramelized. Just really salt and pepper, the chili oil, a little olive oil and butter, and that's all we're really working with here. But we're using just the cooking technique to bring out just the depth and complexity of flavors. At this point, we could add anything from a red wine, even a white wine, to even a sour cream or creme fraiche, to a little heavy whipping cream. There's so many directions you can take this to. A little brandy. Actually, that sounds pretty good. I might actually get this a little flambe with brandy and maybe make just a slight cream sauce to go over my steak. That sounds pretty good. So I just poured in a little brandy. I could flambe this, but it would require me turning on the fan, so I don't want to do that. And we are cooking the alcohol out of the brandy, so we just want to impart the really deep, oaky, aged sweetness from the brandy into the garlic and the mushrooms, and that is looking so good. So I've cheated. I've added just a touch of sour cream in here, and this is just going to get it a little bit creamier, and it's going to just emulsify with the fats just a hair. So now I'm taking a look at this beautiful ribeye here. This is actually quite nice marbling here. I just couldn't resist. I saw this in the store and I was like, yeah, this is coming home with me. And this is a treatment for myself. This is just really, really A+ marbling here. Solid stuff. So this is what we do. Good steak just really needs 2 ingredients, salt and pepper, and quite a bit of salt. This is kosher salt. You can use gray salt, cell gris, sea salt. Do not use iodized salt. And you can see it's quite a bit of salt. Steaks take a lot of salt. And we're going to do also a lot of black pepper. Some people feel like you should hold off on the black pepper till later because it can burn a little bit, but it doesn't bother me at all. And we're going to flip and do the same thing on the other side. Now that I have both sides heavily seasoned, I'm going to just drizzle a little oil on this. And I'm going to coat it and just rub it into both sides. And this is ready to go. I've got here a cast iron skillet. It's heating over high heat. I'm going to get this blazing hot. Notice I haven't added any oil to it. And once it starts to get just to the smoke point, I'm going to add a little oil, just very little oil, and the steak goes right in. So my pan's plenty hot. I'm going to do just a quick little oil here. That's enough. And then my steak, which is already dressed a little bit in oil, goes in. You're going to hear a nice hot sizzle. I'm going to keep that heat super high. I'm not going to touch the meat until I get a really deep, crusty, brown caramelization on the other side. I'll show you what that looks like in a couple of minutes. The steak's been cooking for about 2 minutes, searing on this side. I got a lot of heat here, so it might take you a little bit longer, depending what you're using. And now I'm going to give it a flip. I've already checked to make sure it's got the right amount of caramelization here. So you'll get to see what it looks like. Oh yeah. So you can see kind of the crust that's forming on this side. We really want to see that. Now this is a pretty thin steak. By the time this other side cooks, it's going to be just about done. I'll melt a little butter, drop some herbs in it, and baste it maybe just for a minute or two. And then this is going to be ready to plate. So I gave it just a final flip. You can see it's looking really, really beautiful on both sides now. And this steak is actually just about going to be done to my liking. I just checked its internal temperature, 132, 133. That's perfect for me, medium rare. So I'm taking off the plate. And boy, oh boy, let me tell you, I am excited. No potatoes, no starch. And this is just a really beautifully cooked ribeye right here, along with shiitake mushrooms and garlic, a little brandy sauce, a little chili oil for some heat, and yeah, I'm gonna dig in.